I'm still on the couch. I'm laying on the couch. I'm stressed out. I'm overwhelmed. It's time to go back to work. My kids have been driving me crazy. I'm emotionally distraught. I'm not sleeping good at night. I've got indigestion, a bad case of diarrhea, and now I've got to go back to work with a mask over my head and plastic gloves on my hand and try to make a living in 5 o'clock traffic in LA. What do I do to get my head together before I start self-medicating with some sort of drug?
Well, I'm all about alternative intervention. So we don't just jump to the medications. We don't even jump to the psychotherapy first. I want to check in with you. I need to see, what are you doing? Are you doing the basics? Are you living your life with the basics? And so people have to understand what is meant by basics. We talked about the healthy diet. Bishop, you mentioned all the things that you're supplementing with. And when that's a financial issue, I have to remind people that the basics also include stuff that's free. It includes sleeping. So being well, being healthy, get your sleep. And if we need to do something to help you with that, we can. But there are basics that Dr. Perry talked about, like keeping a routine, having a schedule, having rules around the house for the children. So sometimes we get away from those things and we forget how important they are to provide structure and discipline. Discipline is important. And in creating that discipline, it's about the rules, but it's also about rewarding people in your life when they do things they're supposed to. And I could use this example for your spouses. I could use it when you're engaging with your children. Instead of telling your spouse what he's doing wrong or what she's doing wrong all the time, that she's always leaving stuff around the house, you have to remind people about what they're doing that's right. You have to tell them, I appreciate you cooking dinner today. I know you were busy, but I like that you did that. So there's something about reminding people about what they do correctly and what they do that warms your heart, as opposed to always telling them what's wrong. Relationships are important also. So that's where that communication comes in, communication with our children and teaching them emotional intelligence. And what that means is this: we have to assure them and remind them that it's okay to feel sad. It's okay to get down. It's okay to cry. But when those things come over you and when you feel that way, feel comfortable coming to me to talk about it, because sometimes people that's all they need, is just to be able to process and talk and to share their feelings. And that really goes a long way. So we have to ensure that the basics are in place, such as the sleeping, the healthy diet, the exercise. And that's one thing COVID-19 did for a lot of families, is that it got people out of the homes. It got them walking down the streets, riding their bicycles, stretching together, maybe trying things like yoga to help relax their minds and achieve a more calming state. The other thing I would say too, reading is important. And it's so important for all of the reasons that Dr. Perry mentioned, that John Bryant mentioned, that you're mentioning, Bishop. Reading takes us further. One thing that we don't do a lot of in our community is that research and the reading part. And so what really touched me is when Mr. Bryant mentioned the PPP and how people didn't go after the money. And a lot of times people get overwhelmed with information. They become afraid and they just disconnect because they're so overwhelmed. They don't know what to do with that information. And so I would encourage people to just read and get comfortable. The only way that you can feel better about something, practice makes perfect. And practicing means forcing yourself to read and try to digest some of the information. And if you have to, using your lifeline, asking people, what does this mean? Asking them to help you interpret what those things mean. Now,
hold it just a moment. I got to jump in there. I can't let this go past without saying this, because I think this is so important. I can't tell you how many men I talk to on a daily basis who are frustrated because Black women are graduating from college more readily. They're making more money than we are. They're going into business more readily than any other people group in the country at this time. They're doing entrepreneurship. Men are getting further and further intimidated as women go further and further out there. There's an insecurity there about, how do I measure up when I make less money, have less education, have less this, have less that, have less the other. And the woman just gave you the key, sir. Read. Even if you read slow, even if you read a chapter a week, read, cut off the TV and read something. You cannot lead if you do not read. And it may be a slow process and it may be arduous and you may have to look up some words, but I got a call I got an inbox from a guy from Brazil who said he was watching me preach and couldn't understand what I was saying because I spoke English. And he said, I had to slow down the tape and look up every word and learn every word. And he said, I learned how to speak English because I wanted to hear what you were saying. If some poor kid in Brazil can take a sermon and break it down and learn another language just to hear what a preacher is saying, if you can learn hip hop, if you can learn all the lines to music, if you can learn all the dances, there's nothing wrong with your brain. And I think it's very important as men that we challenge men rather than to resort to self-medicating, getting drunk all the time, getting high all the time, domestic violence, feeling frustrated, feeling overlooked, deserting your life, leaving your kids, walking away from everything. Get a book, put it in the bathroom, read 3 pages every time you go in there. Listen, I don't care how you get it in your head, you'll never enlarge your mind if you don't read. I just want to get that public service announcement out there because I think a lot of times people are oversaturated with information. They do shut down and they just say, I can't do it and black out, but we can get this done.
Exactly. Yeah. And so, you know what, if people would read, they may have been $10,000 richer, because when this happened, and this is what we do in our communities, when I saw from the beginning that this was happening and that our economy was being overwhelmed and that they were creating this new money, I posted on Facebook and said, okay, where did all this money come from? All of a sudden, we have trillions of dollars, and I want some, and I want you guys to get some too. And early on in the programs, they were giving out $10,000 grants. If you had any type of business, pardon?
To everybody.
To everybody.
You breathed in a mirror and walked, and you got 10 grand. Non-profit church, anybody.
Everybody. All you had to do was enter your information in this little thing, this electronic application that didn't take me, I did it while I was sitting on the couch watching television one night. It didn't take me 5 minutes. And so when you're a business person, see, people have to understand this. The reading and staying knowledgeable and being current in what's going on, as opposed to the woe is me syndrome of, nothing ever goes right for me. I can't ever get anything. Well, to be a successful business person, you have to read and remain current. And so when things like this happen, you have to know. And here's one of the things that can help with anxiety. Know what reputable sources to go to. You can't listen to and watch everything on social media, on the internet, but there's certain sites that you can go to and you can get great information, whether it's the SBA for your business information, the CDC for the medical information, the World Health Organization. So that too helps to cut down on that anxiety, Bishop. When you're feeling like, life is just so overwhelming now with the COVID, it's because also people are hearing information that's wrong. They're hearing the fluff. So they're trying to process all of those things. So I tell my patients, you got to choose wisely who you listen to and who you allow to influence the decisions that you make in life. So
you're so right. I say it this way, the best way to diffuse pressure is a plan. Anytime you don't have a plan, pressure continues to mount to the explosion level. If you have a plan and sit down and have an actionable, step-by-step, reasonable plan, that alone is therapeutic, releasing stress out of you and putting you in a better position to go forward.